Good morning. Hope you're all doing well today, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. My name's Nick. I'm with the Otto Permaculture vlog. Behind me is Otto. Here he is. He might make an appearance this morning. Hi. He hasn't been coming and saying hello in the mornings recently to you guys, but hello. This is Otto. It's our garden cat. He helps keep our kind of mice and rat population down, so he does a good job for us. We did have some mice problems before he came here, and now we don't. So good job, Otto. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Good job. Why are you running away from all the hype, huh? Why are you running away? So I gotta go up and work this morning, so it's gonna be somewhat quick, but you know me, quick can be quite some time. So I'm basically gonna show you a continuation of the project that I started over the weekend. No, yesterday, no, 2 days ago. Whatever day it was, I'm going to essentially show you the progress that I've had so far after I cut down that banana. I cut it all up and everything, mulched with it, etc. So we'll just start looking at all that and see where we get to, and let's get started. I was here smelling something in the grass. Maybe another cat came and peed or something. I don't know. What you doing, bud? Very inquisitive about the smells this morning. Oh, you sweet. What are you playing? He loves this fern here. He loves the fern right next to this big rock here. He always plays with that. It's pretty funny. No rain last night, but we did actually ended up yesterday. I think we got about half inch or 3/4 inch over the course of the even, like yesterday during when I was sleeping, and then the morning hours we had a nice little rain, so that was a nice start to the day. Always nice when we get that rain to start the day, except then if I am working outside, which I was, sometimes that means that it's really humid here in the tropics, in the wet tropics. If it rains first thing in the morning and then you have to be outside working in the sun, all that moisture gets pretty hot. But no matter, we still worked on, no problems there. A little hot for a while, but we actually had some nice cloud cover yesterday, so it wasn't too bad. Checking in on these chickens. Yesterday, I gave them a nice long time out and actually followed them. I followed them a little bit and got some kind of chicken angle views of what goes on in the kind of backyard pasture area, and in the. So basically when I let them out, they have a little dust bath area they can get down to. Hi, Mama. Hi. Hi. They have a little dust area that they can go to, and they really enjoy that. So I kind of showed just their progress, kind of getting down there, going out of the coop, getting down to the dust bath, and a little bit in the dust bath, and then they're also enjoying a little pasture. The rooster especially was up on the wall with his head constantly moving, so he could make sure nothing was coming to hurt his mamas, so it's very sweet. And from there, they just kind of kept going. And then Otto came in and was trying to see what was happening, so one of the hens came over and tried to challenge him, and then the rooster came over and was very much challenging Otto, making sure he got away, making sure he didn't do anything too crazy. And yeah, they had a really good time. It's always fun to let them out and just kind of watch what they're doing for a while. It's a good little meditation for me, so I just filmed it along the way. The cat, after being attacked by the the cat, after being chased away by the rooster, ended up just kind of doing his own thing, taking a little nap, and he was following me around the whole time as I was moving out around and working, so he had a good time too. After we let the chickens out, which is happening right now unintentionally, they're just deciding to walk out the door while I was talking to you guys. So I'm just gonna let them do that for a minute. Let them go up here. So I don't really mind if they come out, as long as they're not going into the garden beds, right? Because as they walk around here, they're actually finding they're probably eating the seed heads of everything, which is fine with me because they are starting to seed and flower and everything, and they like those. And they're probably also finding little bugs and such that I don't necessarily want in my garden. Let's see if I can cut them off here. Go ahead, go back. Go back that way. So, you know, they're just gonna kind of look around. This is right behind their coop, so I actually don't really mind at all if they're over here, because they're just looking around. Seeing what they can find. When we first got these chicks, we got them as chicks, so we were raising them ourselves, and look at this. The rooster found a little berry from one of these little native vines here. They always go crazy over them. So you can see the two hens are fighting over it right now, trying to figure out who's going to get it. Meanwhile, the rooster looks to find another one so he can appease them. Yeah, there it is. Good job. So whatever they're eating is likely edible for us too. So I should figure that out, figure out what it is. It's a small little green, kind of looks like a berry. It grows on one of the little vining crops that grow here. Just a weed, guys, or a weed. You know, what do I always say? A weed is it's simply a plant where you don't want it to be. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, it just means you don't really want it there. Here in the tropics, we have so much abundant growth that it's hard to keep track of it all. So they're just gonna find what they want, and I just start picking up on what they actually like to eat, and then I just encourage those things to grow in the spots on my property where I can let them grow. Not in the gardens necessarily, but along the edges and along the fence lines, etc. I just make sure I give them some space and grow some stuff from them. Let's go. Back in. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on, Mama. I gotta go. I can't do this all day. I know. You want to be out. I know. But I can't do it today. They're used to kind of free ranging because when we started them as chicks, we basically let them free range. We would bring them out here and we just had like a small, it was like a hamster cage or something like that at first. And then we upgraded to something a little bit bigger, but when they started to get a little bit bigger before we put them out here, but they were just, we just brought them out here and we just let them run around. Of course, back then it was all lawn, right? It was all just grass. So it was much easier to let them kind of go wherever they wanted. So instead of that, now I actually have that little pasture down below, and that's where I let them out when they do need some greens, because I do want my chickens to be free ranged, or at least have the option to have that little bit of free range, but I need to control it because my land's pretty small and I don't have much space to keep in grass. If I just let them stay out in the grass area, they're going to demolish it really quickly. So down here is my little pasture for them, and you can see it's right below where they live. This is their little pen up here, and they have plenty of space in there and plenty of activity. We throw food scraps in there and everything. They'd be perfectly happy just living in that area. That's a big enough area for them to live full time right in there. But I also like them to kind of be able to free range. So they have the spot below I was just showing you. They also have the spot right along the fence line here. So I keep about a 3 foot, about a meter wide opening here between the actual fence and the chicken pen fence. That's because I just want to be able to access this side here and get all these vines down, you can see. So all these vines are going to be future compost coming up soon, hopefully. And all up in here, many of the things they love to eat grow right up in that little area. And it's also kind of protected. It's a nice shady area, so when it's hot, I'll let them out and they'll actually go and just hang out in there in the shade. But down here, this is their little pasture, so they love to come down here, and on their way to their dust bath, they'll stop and take a little nibble at the leaves and the grass and the seeds they find. And once they're done with their dust bath and everything's happy, then oh, hello, Shadow. Once they're done with their dust bath and everything, then they explore everything else down here. So I'm basically leaving this in pasture. I'm leaving this in grassy growth because I want to make sure that I have that ability to have grass for them. And I also harvest from this grass for mulch. And I'm just adding these 2 plantains. They're spaced enough that they should provide essentially just like a high shade element. Instead of being completely shading everything out, they're spaced far enough apart that some light should still get through there, so that the pasture should be just fine. Actually probably benefit from it, because a little bit of that high shade in the tropics is never really a bad thing. Look at all these cucumber flowers in here. It's just non-stop in there. pretty excited about that. So this is second generation. I've probably said this a few times, but in case you haven't heard me yet, this is second generation cucumbers. So I actually planted these, and then after they produced, I kept those seeds and then replanted. So these cucumbers should be pretty well adapted to my site, and so far it's showing that they're growing abundantly without me having to do much at all. Just gave them a nice deep layer of compost at the start, gave them some nice bulky mulch when they were still fresh. So speaking of bulky mulch, since we're actually just going to talk about it, right down here you can see these are essentially banana trunks. You can kind of see there just some of that kind of banana smooth glossiness. But see how that it starts breaking down? You can see there's fungi growing on there, and this starts breaking down. But when this started, this was much bigger. This is probably like kind of like that, and it just slowly breaks down and just becomes food additive for the soil. So that really big bulky mulch, it might seem kind of crazy when you first do it, but in the tropics, when you really want that protection for your soil and you want to protect your crops, and it also helps just keep the weed pressure down too by basically covering all the soil that's not actually in those plant production. So yesterday, after I cut down the banana tree on Monday or Tuesday, I think it was, so I'll link that above here, so if you want to go check that out before you watch the rest of this video, because I'm going to literally I'm going to continue the story essentially from Tuesday. So check that video out first if you haven't. But after we, on Tuesday, took down that banana tree, I didn't have time to actually get around to it that day. So I had been waiting. And what I do with the banana tree after I harvest the bananas, which are right here, by the way, I hung them up right on the tree here. So they'll continue to ripen out in the weather here. And I don't mind that. I could bring them inside, but I find that they tend to often have a lot of ants and such that are attracted to them. So I'd rather have them outside. And we can just come and harvest them whenever we are, as we see them ripening. So much easier for us to, instead of cutting it all up, and that's perfectly fine if you're trying to sell them or if you're trying to give them away, cutting them up into their small little hands, the manos is what they call them. So each one of these little clumps right here, you can see this one starts right here. You just cut this little area off right there, and this whole kind of rack right here, probably 12-ish bananas, that's called a mano, or a hand. Here's another one over here. There's another one up here. So there's a bunch of those, so you'd usually cut those up in that way, and that's how they sell them really easily. And you know, it's how much money for a mono, depending on what type of banana, how many are actually on the mono, because it does vary. Sometimes you get 3 or 4, sometimes you get 12, 15, sometimes you get 20. I mean, it just depends on the variety, how much they produce. But those are the bananas. They're going to just sit there and ripen. And as I see them getting closer and closer to ripen, I'll just pick off the ones that are about to be ripe and bring them in, and we'll use them. And Mom will take some, I'll bring her some next door to her. I just harvested actually the calabaza, the pumpkin down there that I found a while back when I was doing some cleaning. I'll link that video up there too if you're interested in what I'm talking about. But harvested it and cut it in half, gave half to Mom, we kept half, and then that's going to be food. So, and that was a volunteer. I didn't even plant that one. So it's always fun when you get those plants where you don't actually plant it and it grows and then produces for you. That's the best yield in my opinion. But anyway, once we got those bananas, got those down, I actually cut the whole trunk down. And that's that video I linked already, so check it out. I cut the whole trunk down, and it was a little bit of a challenge because it was right over my garden bed, so I couldn't just cut it down and let it fall. I actually had to pay attention to where it was going. And then once I had that down, I brought it all down here yesterday and started cutting it up, because banana trunks there's so many layers to them. So once you start cutting them up, the big trunk up into little sections of workable sizes, you know, and then if you slice that little section right down the middle, you can actually start peeling back these layers, and these layers and layers and layers of this really moist organic material that you can put on your garden, keep your soil moist, and it'll also protect the soil. It's also adding potassium and magnesium, things that bananas are high in. All of that's within the banana trunk itself. So you're actually adding those kind of those nutrients to your garden as well for your soil food web to process for you. And it also protects little plants, especially if you have little baby seedlings and you want to make sure they have a chance against all the other rampant weed growth that we have in the tropics. Again, that weed plant where you don't want it, so I don't necessarily want all the grasses and everything growing in my garden. So what I did is, once we have it all cut up and everything, I actually started placing it on the garden. So this right here is the end result, which took, I don't know, maybe half an hour to do, because I was basically putting it around all little babies. So I just started, and I really paid attention. I wanted to keep these squash, so I made sure I paid attention to where I was putting everything so that the squash were nice and protected. And I tend to put a really big piece, a big chunky one, right over where I have a major plant that I want to keep. So right near all my squash, I have big round pieces. And then the rest of the garden where I just planted orange bell pepper and calendula and some melon, all of that, I just kind of worked around them and made sure they had plenty of coverage and could still see light, like the soil was protected, but they could still get through there and poke through. You can see down here, here's a little calendula popping through that really deep, bulky mulch. Let's see, these melon over here, they're on a little mound, but they're also now protected by really nice, deep, bulky mulch that'll keep it nice and moist in there. So on these really hot tropical days, they're not going to get overstressed and the soil won't dry out as fast. And then down here, you can see I put flags. So I know it's kind of unattractive, and I honestly don't love this solution because I'd rather not look at all these little like marker flags throughout my garden. But whenever I plant in and before I have to do this mulch or anything, I always flag them because then I know where I have to watch out for as I'm working. So you can see right down here, it's a small little baby orange bell pepper down there. And I just want to make sure that these guys make it to fruition. So I'm protecting the soil all around them with this nice deep bulky mulch. And then another little project I did was after I harvested coconuts the other day as well. I'm not sure if I have a link to that or not, but if I do, I'll leave it here. But I use these coconuts once Katie comes over, and she does her upper body workout by opening up these coconuts and harvesting the water and the meat for us. So when she's done with them, she just splits them in half and leaves them for me, and then I use them for the garden. So you can see I'm actually building up this garden bed here. So I have a little bit more of a raised feeling, and I can keep the soil there longer. And I did the exact same thing just beneath these kind of peppers up here. So it's really just, I'm using the resources I have available to me to build up these garden beds. And all these will break down. All this stuff's organic material, so it is going to break down. But coconut husks and like kind of the coconut, most of the coconut products are pretty high in silica, so they take quite some time to actually break down. So I don't mind too much if it's going to take a little extra time to break down, especially if I want to use them as garden bed edging. But they'll retain their shape and their general form for many months, if not years. So this should still be a nice little raised bed, and as it decomposes, it's just going to be a little fungal network for all the fungi in my soil food web, and that's what I want. I want more fungi in my soil food web because they help select against the weeds. I'm going to definitely talk more on that. So don't think that's all I'm going to say about it. I have plenty of future episodes to do with the soil food web and all that. And if you have no idea what the soil food web is, check out Elaine Ingham. Dr. Elaine Ingham, she has an amazing course on essentially teaching you all about the soil food web. I'm not sure I can link that, but I will link her channel, and then below the description here, I will link the course I'm talking about as well. I am an affiliate with them. I took the course, I loved it, and so I signed up to be an affiliate. So when I told people about it, I had a chance of making some sort of income off of it. So it's a small little potential income, and it's certainly not something that I can rely on for any sort of actual living expenses, but kind of long term, if I can help her get some more traction, because I think the work she's doing is really important and really needs to be shared way more. So I will leave her linked up there. I probably already have, but also leave her link below in the show notes so you can check it out. Right here, this greens garden, this is right above here is where the banana used to be hanging. If you remember, my little arugula seedlings kept getting rained upon by the banana flower, and yeah, right down here they used to be rained, but now it is no longer. This is where they used to fall, but now we're protected. And so all my little baby arugulas, they're doing really well. You can see this is this really bulky kind of banana trunk like. It's not the bananas, I don't think it's just in the same family, but we put those down and look at them, they're already breaking down and kind of turning much more flat. But in between them, nothing's really growing, and the soil's staying nice and moist, and my arugula is doing well. Despite not having that high shade of the banana here anymore, I had planned for that by making sure I had papayas growing. So the papayas, at this point, I actually gave them a really heavy prune so I could use them for the prunings for garden mulch. So it actually is much less shade than it would have been if I hadn't pruned that. But these things grow so fast that it's just going to immediately shade back out and add new leaves to help shade the garden. But planting in the succession so that I have these papaya trees at the point where they're tall enough that they're not in my way and annoying, and now they can protect my garden bed now that banana's gone. That's kind of successional agroforestry. They often, or that's what they, if you're actually doing a full kind of forest system, that's what they'll call it, successional agroforestry. But really just successional planting. So planning, when your garden bed is done producing the crop you're planning on producing, what's next? And can you plan in that process to make it easier and more fluid for you as you move across the garden seasons? Otto. Otto. I was very playful this morning. I think it's because I got up early and gave him food earlier than he usually gets it. Oh, look at him, he's doing his little foot thing that I love so much. When Katie gets up early, she has to teach really quickly, so she usually gets up, gives him his food, and walks away. And he likes to be around when he's eating. He's one of those kind of cats where he wants to have a little company while he eats to make sure he's safe, and he likes that pack mentality. So he's a fun cat. Up here I also added a couple of those banana trunk parts. I just left them right there on my little footpath so I can actually see it now and establish it as a footpath instead of me just knowing where it is, because Katie would always ask me, how do I get back there? How do I get back there? So that should help establish it for me and keep it long term. This piece here actually just did not make it in, but it can go in right now. Hey, that's a garden bed, bud. I mean, that's the path, but you jumped right into the garden bed. What are you doing? What's your deal? Why are you so excited today? All right, guys, I got really distracted by Otto there for a second. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, banana trunks. So there's my kind of footpath up there I'm using the banana trunks for. I also throw down all the leaves and everything here where Otto's walking. So again, anything that takes a long time to kind of break down and doesn't break down really quickly, I'll actually throw right here in the pathway. And then as I walk on it, it'll kind of encourage it to help break down, and then I'll take what's in the pathway and move it into the garden bed to help either as mulch or if it breaks down the soil at that point, if it takes that long. I just use this stuff for mulch or for soil if it took that long and actually broke down all the way to soil. Also add a bunch of that kind of banana trunk stuff right into here underneath my tomatoes when I cleared it all out, since the tomatoes were no longer shading it as much. I just wanted to get a little bit of extra protection there in the soil. And I also did add some on this bed here. Just add a little bit extra kind of along the edge here, help keep things from kind of trying to come in, and also right beneath my jalapenos here. That entire tree trunk, I would actually like to another one or two so I can do all my beds throughout the gardens here with that. But that's all I had, and we'll just have to wait for the next banana tree to be ready. And so the next one's actually, I think, a plantain, and he is producing quite well. I don't know if you guys are going to see that because you're right in the sun, and it's kind of a bad angle. I don't have a good angle. It's not really completely sun-ridden. Maybe I can get down here. Let's see. There we go. You can see that rack there. Actually, I do see a little bit of yellow there too already. So I might be able to harvest that too, and that means I have a whole nother banana chunk to harvest, which would be pretty exciting, because I love the banana trunk as bulky mulch, and I will use it whenever I can get it. All right, folks, that's it for today. I got to get up to work before it gets too hot, so I'm going to leave you guys there. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, please leave a comment below this video, or you can head over to my website. I have a contact page there. That's tierrapermaculture.com/contact is my contact page. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and really share these videos with relevant communities that might actually find value in this and get some education through this. That's really what I want, is I want to be able to be showing people what I'm doing here so they can learn and then apply it for themselves. So if you have communities either in the tropics or just people who are interested in permaculture and permaculture design, the permaculture applications, please do share these videos to that community, or this channel to that community, so I can help get a little bit more reach, and every subscription I get gives me a little more reach too, and definitely a little more motivation to keep going. And I'd really appreciate either the share, the subscribe, or the like, or the comment, or any of those things. I like interacting with you guys. I like to kind of hear what you guys are thinking. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that, and until next time, have a good one.